Election result is not that bad. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Park. I know, good to see you too. All right, so let's just start with the disappointing stuff, the local stuff first. I wanted, out of the 17 propositions on the Texas state ballot, I wanted all of them to pass except for 1, 4, and 14. I did not get my wish because all of them passed, including 1, 4, and 14. So I didn't quite get what I hoped for there. Now, a lot of the attention is being placed on our distant neighbors up in New York, and rightfully so. New York City! Because the Mamdani Democrat Socialist experiment is about to begin for a lot of people. I'm trying to tell you, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's just going to resume what the previous mayor, not the current mayor, the previous mayor, believed the same thing. Bill de Blasio, he was a straight-up socialist as well. He loved all those programs. He loved rent controls, and he loved all these other social programs and safety nets and soft on crime policies. And so it's not going to be anything you haven't seen before, and it's not really going to be that different than New York City under Bill de Blasio. The most important takeaway from this is that the guy is more overt about the terrible policies he believes than Bill de Blasio. And, you know, there's been this sort of masquerade, this disguise that no, I'm not a socialist or fascist. I'm way different than them. I'm a Democrat socialist. That's totally different. Oh, really? Same terrible policies. You just get to have elections. How is that really different? So this is what the philosophical discussion is going to hinge on. This one soundbite from Mamdani's victory speech.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
Okay, so that's number one. Not constitutional. Constitution says in Article 1, Section 8, there's only a handful of things, about 18, maybe 20-something things that government should do. The government should is your answer, is your solution for problems like a system of weights and measures, or coming up with criminal courts and law enforcement, or enforcing rights against violence, fraud, theft, things of that nature. They didn't say anything about healthcare, didn't say anything about education, didn't say anything about food assistance. Somehow that's all been made up in there, but that should frighten you, that no matter what the problem is, Mamdani sees a government solution. In fact, all of our problems, he's going for a government solution. There's nothing too big, nothing too small. So whether, and you see this in practice, they don't admit it openly. They don't say, hey, we want to control every aspect of your life that we possibly can, all the way down to the material in your straw, paper straws. This is the same thing. Look, we don't have any audio of Mussolini, the guy who really founded fascism. And there's been some people on YouTube who've taken a bunch of his quotes and done AI voicings of them. Well, I found an AI that does it in an Italian accent. So this is about as close as we're going to get. This whole thing where everything has a state solution. See if it sounds familiar.
All within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state.
All within the state, nothing outside the state, nothing against the state. All, everything, big, small, state. That's the left mindset. That's the pro-government mindset. That's the communist, socialist, fascist. They all agree on that. Your solutions are going to be through the state, not private sector solutions. Not if you're hungry. Well, why don't we start a charity, or why don't you go to the nearest church? No, state is the center of their universe. Okay, now that you've heard that, Scott Jennings at a table. The other guy you're going to hear is Van Jones. On CNN last night, after Mamdani did his little victory speech there, Scott Jennings referenced that clip, and he nailed it.
He missed an opportunity to open himself up tonight, and I think that will probably cost him going forward. Scott?
Oh, are you saying he wasn't the unifying voice of a generation that you predicted mere moments ago? Axe, where was the man that you predicted would not slice and dice the? Look, guys, he started his speech by quoting Eugene Debs, who ran for president of the United States. 5 times as the Socialist Party of America candidate. He repeatedly attacked people in this. I know my socialists. I keep a close eye on them. I work here. So here's the thing. He went after everybody that he thinks is a problem. People who own things, people who have businesses. He said an interesting quote: "No problem too large for government to solve."
Or too small, important.
And so when you think of the world that way, that every problem, no matter how small or how large, is something for government to do, let me just decipher this for you. Tax increases as far as the eye can see, which means the people who need to provide jobs to the young people that you say need jobs are going to flee as quickly as they possibly can. I think this was a divisive speech, and he clearly sees the world in terms of the people who are oppressing you and the oppressed. And he said the oppressed are now in City Hall.
That's beautiful, because for the people who are wanting freedom, they're against kings. They say they're against tyranny. Then why do you want to give power to the state, the tyrants that rule over us? Why do you want to give the people that rule over us the ability to control every aspect of our lives? No problem too big, no problem too small. Whether or not you're driving the right car, whether or not you're using the correct grocery bags, whether or not the Happy Meal has the correct toy in it, whether or not you have a plastic straw. They want to control everything. Are you really a rebel? Are you really against the man if you want to turn over all the power in society to the man? Coming up next, you may be wondering how we got here. I'll play you a couple of man on the street of the two diverging schools of thought here in the New York City voter, and you'll hear AOC's response to the Mamdani win coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Now, we've got football that's hot and heavy, and the only thing that can make the Cowboys' next game and the rest of their season enjoyable is probably going to be the Prize Picks app. But if you've already given up on football, hey, hockey is going hot on the Prize Picks app. You've got basketball going hot on the Prize Picks app. And you can pick up Cooper Flagg. That's right, the new face of the franchise, the future of the Dallas Mavericks. You can have him on your lineup. And also, because the lineup is just 2 to 6 players, you could have him on the same team as Luka. Wouldn't that be sweet? Wouldn't that be Cooper Flagg and Luka working on your team? But it's pretty simple. All you do is you go to Prize Picks, you pick 2 to 6 of your favorite players, and then you look at a statistic. It'll say 30.5 points. Will they get more or less than that? And so you make that pick. You turn a little bit of money into a lot of money, up to 2,000 times your money on America's #1 daily fantasy sports app, Prize Picks. And if you're just getting started on the app, I can give you a little bonus money to play with. Download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP, and you get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. So download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. And get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. We're doing an election day autopsy on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. You know, elections in Texas went okay. I'm kind of disappointed that the three propositions I didn't want to passed, but all of them passed. And the other big head scratcher we have is, you may wonder, why is this important? Why do we care about the mayor of New York City? And really, I don't know, but we are certainly talking about this off the air. This is what people ask me about. It's what my dad asked me about. It's what my friends ask me about. Sometimes when I see people I hadn't seen for years, we'll hang out for an evening and this will come up. And I think one of the parts about this that baffles us so much, that makes it so interesting, is we just don't understand how people can vote for someone who says they're a socialist. Like, after you saw socialists and people saying these things, people promising equality and free food and free housing for all and free universal health care, they just murdered 100 million of their own citizens in the 20th century alone. No big deal. Why do people keep voting for this failed economic system, these failed economic policies that have already driven New York into some conditions that it's griping about now? Oh, God, look how expensive housing is in New York City. Oh, yeah, don't y'all already have rent controls? That didn't fix it? Don't y'all already tax the rich and spread the wealth so everything's more affordable? Oh, it's not working? So what do? You vote for it even harder. So there's two schools of thought in the Team Blue voting base. There's the true believers and there's the useful idiots. There's the true believers, the people that probably are actually socialists, that like, economically speaking, they've probably read something or done some sort of studying, and they are trying to implement socialism. The useful idiots are the people who are emotionally voting. They're voting because, well, my body, my choice, or Team Red is racist, or Team Red bigot, Team Red homophobe, Team Red xenophobe, Team Red Islamophobe. They're voting off of these emotional triggers here, and there's no real depth of why they're voting. They just know that the other guy's bad. So in Man on the Street Audio, I found a couple of good examples. Here's what I think. I think these people might be true believers. The influencer is Nate Friedman on the street.
I know he's controversial for some. They're saying that it'll force millionaires to go out of the city and they're paying the majority of the tax. What do you say to those people?
I think that's baloney.
Okay. I think millionaires tend to not pay taxes, don't they? They tend to avoid paying taxes that perhaps you or I could not successfully do.
And what about the government-run grocery stores? Do you think that that's a model that could work?
Yes.
And
I think there's too many hungry people and too many potatoes here that are $5 a pound.
Yeah.
Stop
you
the
gotta
day.
lower the price.
There's too many potatoes that are $5 a pound. Lady, do you go grocery shopping? I mean, I've been to New York City and prices are inflated, but $5 a pound for potatoes? You can get a sack of, like a 5-pound sack for $3 at this Tom Thumb around the corner, and this is the expensive part of Dallas. But anyway, just to back it up, not to nitpick on our, produce price estimates. I'm not Bob Barker. The Sitting the Price is Right. Let's back up a little bit to so you think the government-run grocery stores are a good idea? She says, yeah. And then she says, we have too many hungry people. That is brain dead, no critical thinking, unscientific reasoning there. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the actual scientific logical answer to that would be, yes, here is where they have been tried, and this was the result. Or, yes, look at what happened when we tried them here. They've actually been a huge success when we try them here, there, and there. But there's no examples of that. Have you heard of Jubilee Food Mart? You probably haven't unless you're listening in the Waco area. This was something that came about when this was like 10 years ago. I feel like I'm 100. But a long time ago, 10 years ago, the James Show was on a station just a couple hours south of where I am right now in Waco, and the local activists were pushing for one of these, a government-run grocery store. They were trying to address a food desert because, how do you explain the terrible educational results, the high crime, the low property values, and all the other vagrancies and problems that are going on in these underprivileged communities? And someone's big idea wasn't, we don't need dads. We need to be walking distance within an organic bell pepper. Yeah, that's what we need. That'll solve our problem. So they'll just try everything but dads. And one of them, government-run grocery stores. It already went out of business, by the way. They've got the government funding. They said this will show all those evil, profit-driven, greedy corporations how it's really done, how you can really serve the community, how you don't have to charge big prices and have a big store to turn a profit. They don't know anything about profit. We'll teach them. It's out of business. Went out of business. And it didn't even try and turn a profit. All it did was go to the local jurisdictions at the city and the county and the state level and lobby their representatives for grants. If public-run grocery stores were a success, wouldn't you have an example that you can point to? Anyway, let me continue with this voter lady and her husband.
Is there anything else about Zoran that gets you excited about him?
I'm excited that he gets young people excited, and I'm excited to see people standing in line, hopefully, to vote.
I'm excited that he gets other people excited. Is there a more shallow explanation for that? No. So either she has no idea what she's going on, or she's probably hiding her true intentions. She's probably smart enough to not say, "Oh man, I'm a socialist, and I'm glad to see another socialist in there." Give all those capitalist pigs, what's coming to them. I don't know. Is she a true believer or a useful idiot?
Or something new.
And last thing, the number one comment I get on some of my videos is that socialism doesn't work. It's been tried many times. Why do you think it'll work?
This isn't socialism he's talking about, social democracy. You know, government should work to encourage people to thrive and be successful. Everybody thrive. It shouldn't be a matter of it should be equality, not supremacy. It should be a matter of bringing everybody up and not just having a few people with entirely too much money and too much decisions.
You didn't even say anything. That would be like if you asked me, like, why is your position correct and not your opponent's? Well, we believe in not slapping babies in the face, and we believe in being good people and not double parking and not cutting the cheese in elevators. You know, he just lists off a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with politics or the way he's going to govern or statecraft or policy or success stories. No, we just like it's totally different because we're the good people and they're the bad people. Yeah, that's it. This is Robert and Crum. You're on WBAP.
Yeah, how you doing, sir? Hey, I tend to panic. So, listen, I'm from Brooklyn. I left in the military. I went to California in '85 for 40 years. I'm in Crum now for 3 years. In Brooklyn, one thing they don't talk about is the Chinese people voting. And where I'm from, they own all the stores, and China owns the people. So if they decide to have government-owned stores, China be more than happy to sign them all over to the Communist Party.
Yeah, right. Well, also, this is an interesting situation that we have when you allow foreigners to vote, when you allow, and some of them are here legally, some of them are citizens, some of them are non-citizens, but some of them are getting to vote. And look how it's skewing the results. Are you getting better results being this empathetic and being this open and liberal with your voting process? Are you getting good results? Well, we'll see. But we know it's not going to work, is it, Robert?
No, well, if I real quick, one more thing. My aunt sold my grandpa's house for $980,000 in Brooklyn. It was a 120-year-old piece of doo-doo, and the Chinese bought it. And I talked around to different people. The Chinese government will pay a family $1 million at 1% for 100 years to come over and live in that house. So half of those people, all the businesses, they don't own it. China owns it. They just live there.
Well, that's a disturbing thought. Thanks for sharing that. The Chinese government bought your parents' old house. Is that what you're saying?
My grandpa's
Your
old
grandpa's
house.
old house. All right. I got to run. More election day results and Man on the Street audio next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The election night autopsy continues on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The one soundbite that has a pretty smart discussion going is when Mom Donnie, in his victory speech, said there's a government solution for everything.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
Does that sound like a free market capitalist? Does that sound like a limited government constitutional conservative? Does that sound like any of our founding fathers? Or does that sound like the same siren song that wooed the poor people of Venezuela and Cuba and Cambodia and Russia and China and everywhere else that turned into a failed Marxist hellhole? Of course, it's not that different. But how do we get here? How do people not know that that's a dangerous ideology you're chasing? That's the ideology that just turned Venezuela from the richest country in Latin America to the basket case it is today. How do they not know that? Well, they're not really voting on economics. Here's a couple of good examples. Number one, this is a viral video of a man on the street interview. I think this was Nate Friedman again, but I didn't see his face.
Who are you voting for mayor?
I like Cuomo, but I think Mondani might be pulling the lead a little bit with me.
What's your favorite example of socialism that's worked?
I don't have a big example of it, of socialism.
Like between Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union, what's your favorite one?
Man, you put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to go Cuba. Man, I'm gonna have to go Cuba. Yeah. Let's go there. It's just so complicated for me. I got so much information in my head, but I'm gonna go with that.
Do you think Mondami's the future of the Democratic Party?
I mean, I hope so.
Wow. Here's another one. This is Charlemagne the God. He's the host of The Breakfast Club. It's a hip-hop morning show, one of the bigger ones, but they're based out of New York City. And he was correcting one of his guests on Trump. Listen to this.
I'm American. You can't just deport me now. I have no criminal record. Well, no, that's part of what he's been doing. He's been deporting people who are actually U.S. citizens or people who've been going through the process.
Well, you have to have some kind of criminal record.
He'll find something.
Where you finding me, man?
That's it. That's really been the whole. No, that's been the whole thing. That's why people are upset.
Yeah, so it's a combination of you're going to get all this free stuff, plus the other guy's literally Hitler. I mean, he's deporting even American citizens. No one is safe. That's how they end up getting them. Emotion, guilt, free stuff. That's the formula. That's how it works every single time. Kevin, North Richland Hills. You're on WBAP.
Hey, I wanted to chime in on this topic.
Sure.
And I was a flight attendant back in '94, and I was flying international all over the world and doing a transcon from New York to LA. And I flew with this girl, and she had a Russian accent, and I was a flight attendant in charge, and they call it purser now, but. After all that stuff, you start talking. What did your husband do? He runs the underground communist paper out of L.A.
What, the Daily Worker or something?
I don't know. I got so hacked off. I went to the back of the aircraft, flying a wide body, and I told the girls, I said, hey, someone go up there and work with her. I told them what was going on. I said, I can't work with her anymore. And that was in 1997 that I met this girl. Okay. So, and I asked her, I said, why an underground communist paper? Well, we're trying to change the U.S. from within. And that's when I got so hacked off. I thought, I'm out. So,
well, look, wanting to change the U.S. from within for the better isn't a bad thing. It's the communism that's the bad part.
That is what I was talking about.
Okay. Well, you were astounded at the lady's situation, but I mean, how does that make her intolerable to work with? And also, you're a male flight attendant?
Yes.
Yeah, I have all kinds of questions going here.
And straight, okay.
You've heard those jokes before. I didn't bring that up. I wasn't gonna.
No. Sorry. And
okay.
two girls. I'm a grandfather. Okay. So, but anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, and to let everybody know that this has been going on for a long time.
Well, they're like the flat earthers of not just economics, but really the recent human history. You know, like what has been the most destructive force on the planet? Who has killed the most people? What ideology? And I'm not talking about a skin color, and I'm not talking about a nationality or an ethnicity. These are all just unimportant traits, physical traits. The important thing is the ideology, and it would be this strain, this socialism, communism, fascism, these three different branches of the Team Blue tree.
You aced the test.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So we also have the quote. He started off by quoting Eugene Debs. You heard Scott Jennings refer to that on CNN last night. And Eugene Debs here, I know 55% of you weren't listening 5 minutes ago. I got it. I'll play it again. This is Scott Jennings with Van Jones on CNN last night.
He missed an opportunity to open himself up tonight, and I think that will probably cost him going forward. Scott?
Oh, are you saying he wasn't the unifying voice of a generation that you predicted mere moments ago? Axe, where was the man that you predicted would not slice and dice the? Look, guys, he started his speech by quoting Eugene Debs, who ran for president of the United States 5 times as the Socialist Party of America candidate. He repeatedly attacked people in this.
Scott called him out for quoting one of the probably the best known socialist in American history. Yeah, do you know what party he was a member of before he split off and started running for office as a socialist? Yeah, that's right, the Democrat Party. Aren't you told constantly that there was some big switch in the ideologies of the party? Well, if the Democrat Party were the party of socialists way back then in 1988 through the 20s at least for Eugene Debs' situation here, well, isn't that still the case now? I thought there was a big switch. Coming up next on The James Show, Tony Ortiz from Current Revolt did his own little self-tour of DART over the weekend, and the results are hilarious. He'll be on next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. As Dart's fate hangs in the balance, I'm here trying to push it over the edge. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. In fact, I don't want to push it over the edge. I want to do that Sparta kick. Remember at the beginning of 300 when the dude's standing in front of the big pit and King Leonidas just front kicks him right in the chest and it goes in the hole. And he says, "This is Sparta." Yeah, that's what I want to do to Dart. My next guest, Tony Ortiz, just did hilarious work over the weekend. He gave himself a little tour of the Dart facilities, and the results are hilarious. Welcome back, Tony Ortiz from CurrentRevolt.com. All right, before we get into the details, what made you go on a tour of Dart? Were you just celebrating the excitement of the new Silverline, or what? Oh, stop it! You're getting me excited on the anti-Dart side because in just what is beautiful, seductive music to my ears, Plano is having that meeting today on whether or not to put Fate of Dart on the ballot for an election next year. So I'm very much looking forward to the results of that. All right, so that's a perfect setup. Now tell me about the tour you did itself. Where all did you go? What all did you see? Wait, what day was this? Just 2 days ago? Oh, I thought this was over the weekend. So it was this dead on a Monday? What time of day is this? What when you say in the morning? So it should be packed. That's hilarious. All right, we're talking with Tony Ortiz from CurrentRevolt.com. Can you hang on for another segment and continue what you saw on your tour of Dart? Because Dart's fate hangs in the balance, and I don't think the average person, the poor taxpayer and sap who's paying for all this, has any idea what a huge, embarrassing failure Dart is. Find out next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Is Dart on its way out? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We're continuing with Tony Ortiz from CurrentRevolt.com, who, in the context of a couple of meetings, there are some suburbs, some municipalities that are thinking about getting rid of Dart, discussing putting it up as a referendum to the voters. In fact, Plano is having their meeting today on whether or not they're going to put a referendum on the ballot in 2026, where the citizens of Plano will get to decide whether or not they want to continue being a part of Dart or not. And if you're new to the show, I hate Dart with the hot heat of 1,000 suns. It's been the biggest boondoggle in North Texas history, maybe all of Texas history, but definitely for the DFW area. There's been no bigger drain on your finances, on your traffic, on the budgets of everyone involved. And Tony Ortiz did some great work over here. Now, if I try and criticize the tour that you did of Dart on Monday, you go through and you show that it's an absolute ghost town, meaning that all this money that we're paying into it is just being flushed down the toilet. What would you say to the person is like, yeah, you selectively edited that? So let me ask some predictions here. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think Plano's going to decide today? Damn it, Tony, you're breaking my heart. Now, listen, if you see Tony's report, and I encourage you to go do so, and you think that it's selectively edited to look dead, here's what I have to push back against that. Where I'm at right now, our studio's at the American Airlines Center. There's a big Dart station that's across the street from us to my left. Just go set up a lawn chair out there, bring a cold beer, and watch all the empty trains just show up. The doors open, no one gets on, no one gets off, and the doors closed, and then it just keeps going. It's the Truman Show down here. Tony, it is really bad. And so to see other people pointing that out and doing it in a way that's kind of spreading that message, I just want to amplify that as much as I can. Okay, so Tony Ortiz, CurrentRevolt.com is where you can pick up some of his good work. And it's not just the trains, and it's not just the buses. We're doing so much dumb stuff when it comes to transportation in this town. On the other side of our studios at the American Airlines Center, we have this bike lane, a curbed off bike lane going both directions on Houston Avenue here in downtown, where we could really use either the lane for traffic or parking, but we get to use neither. It's the safest place to take a nap in all of Dallas. No one ever uses it. And at this other bike lane over here by the Tom Thumb, they have put up in their new traffic light a traffic light for the bicycles. Have you seen one of these bicycle traffic lights, Tony? Oh. dude, come down here, do it, look at it, and it'll just make you so mad. Like, I almost had a stroke the first time I saw it because that bike lane has been there. I've been working here for 2 years, and so I don't watch it for 8 hours a day, but every time I've walked by there, there's never been a bike. And after no traffic that I've observed for like a year and a half, they put up a light there for the non-bikes that are going on the bike path. It's insane what we do and just passes in this town. What else you got going on at Current Revolt I need to check out? I don't know this one. Go ahead. Self-immolation was the cause of death? All right, that can't be right, because people only do that if you're like a Tibetan monk that's protesting the occupation, or the guy, the pro-Palestinian guy. Remember, he self-immolated, Free Palestine. If you don't have some sort of political cause, people just don't really self-immolate very often. So, I mean, like, allegedly, reportedly, I don't know anything. This is baseless speculation, but it sounds more like maybe someone killed her and then burned her body to hide the evidence. All right, well, I'll be keeping an eye out for that. This is Tony Ortiz. CurrentRevolt.com is his website. It's Texas' #1 political tabloid. Thank you very much for being on the show and your great work on DART. Thank you, Tony. All right, coming up next on the James Show, a teacher in Salina got arrested for being drunk in class. No, this is not a repeat. It happened again. We have any sober teachers in Salina? Details coming up next on the James Show with Aaron Anderson from Texas Scorecard on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Do not paint your house. If you have to do some repairs on your house and you're like, oh man, it's going to leave a awkward gap there and I'm going to have to get it repainted. No, this is a perfect time for you to upgrade, because Rhino Shield is better than paint. Why? It's 8 to 10 times thicker than paint. It won't change your surface texture, but it will give you insulation. It will block 90% of UV rays. It's water resistant and it breathes. It expands when your house gets hot. It contracts in the cool Texas winters as well. So that's why you don't see the cracking, the flaking, or the peeling, because it doesn't get a chance to rip itself apart. And so what this is a space age technology. It's not one thing. It's actually two things. The primer does its one job, and then the nano particle ceramic coating does its job on the outside. And it's very similar to the technology they use on the space shuttles or these spacecraft, when they have to have the re-entry and withstand all the big heat and, expansion and contracting, and you don't want any cracking or anything like that. It's that same technology, the nanoparticle ceramic coating. And this is what we do to your house now. You don't paint your house anymore. That's like getting a dial-up modem. It's like having a speak and spell. It's like you using an abacus to do your taxes. And we'll give you a little bit of help here. If Rhino Shield is something you want to go forward with and you're worried about the cost, well, two things we can do for you. Right now, mention the James Show, you get 20% off through the end of the holidays. So through the rest of the year, just mention the James Show, 20% off. And also, if you need it, they can do financing. And so instead of paying for it all at once, you can pay $150 a month or so to get it taken care of. But in the meantime, all I'm asking you to do is go to the website, set up a time for Gary to come out, look at your house, show you how the technology works, and give you a quote. And that doesn't cost anything. All right, so set it up right now. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. How many drunk teachers are in Salina? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And just so you don't think that wannabe comedian is just making stuff up on the radio. No, this is WFAA, another drunk teacher in Salina.
Tonight, another Salina ISD teacher has been arrested tonight, the 6th in the past month to be arrested or put on leave. Salina police say a high school special education teaching aide appeared to be impaired. She is now charged with endangering a disabled individual. We reached out to Salina ISD and are waiting to hear back.
Apparently, it's a party in Salina. Okay, not in a good way. One of the great experts in bad apples in Texas is my next guest, Aaron Anderson from Texas Scorecard, TexasScorecard.com. I feel like we already have you on this week about another drunk teacher in Salina, or was that something else? Well, this is becoming a big problem, not just for the safety and well-being of our students, but, it's got to be taking up like 90% of your workday, just keeping up with the ill-behaved teachers of Texas. Yeah, so Salina is really having a run at it here. This is the 4th teacher in the last few weeks that's been arrested, and they have a couple other people that are on administrative leave, like the father and the principal in one of the cases. So Salina, why is this all happening so much at just one school? Are they doing something wrong, or is this maybe happening in other schools and flying under the radar? Well, then you have the other coach that got in trouble. So there was a drunk teacher last week, a drunk teacher this week. There was a misbehaving, allegedly perverted coach story from last month, and now there's another one. This stems from a social media post that you reported on. While he's accused of misconduct at other schools. Well, they're keeping you busy, unfortunately. Aaron Anderson from TexasScorecard.com. You are the go-to resource for misbehaving teachers in North Texas, and I appreciate your work. Thank you. And you know what? I feel naive sometimes, and I need to be reminded that there really are people who are for real alcoholics, not people who like drink too much when they go out or drink too much on the weekends. You people that have alcohol on your nightstand. And I use that as the example because this guy I used to work with, he was married to a clinical alcoholic. And that's when he knew it got out of control. It's because she didn't used to be that bad, but it just slowly kind of snowballed into full-blown alcoholism. And he's like, when there started being liquor on the nightstand, that's when he knew. But, I like to drink. I probably drink too much. But in the morning, before you go to school, you know how long it takes to get drunk, especially if you weigh 230 pounds. It takes a little while. But, I mean, what are you doing? Are you bombing Rumplemint shots in traffic on the way to class? Like, how are you drunk before school starts? That's wild. And so I know, I just have to be reminded because it seems so anathema because I haven't really been adjacent to that in a long time. But I bet you there's some people out there listening right now who have the crazy alcoholic stories. I love to hear them. You can send me an email, parker@wbap.com, or you can call in and tell me whether it was you or your spouse, like these people that you go to work drunk, like you're not worried about losing your job. You don't think anyone will notice. You don't know that you reek. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Maybe we'll have some stories of alcoholic extremism when we get back. And then we'll do What the Heck did Jasmine Crockett say this time with a little AOC bonus on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're continuing the autopsy on Election Day 2025, and the reaction to it is what we have to go with now because, well, the socialist won in New York City. The Democrat won in the Virginia race that we were all watching, and seemed to be a pretty good day for Team Blue yesterday. Now, something that came to my attention since yesterday's James show, and I'm a little late on this one, Jasmine Crockett did a campaign ad that was put out last week by Jane Fonda. Did you see this? I have the audio for you. If you haven't seen it, it's just Jane Fonda standing next to Jasmine Crockett. But why is this important? Because Jasmine Crockett was doing an ad with Jane Fonda, not for Jasmine Crockett, but for Prop 50. Prop 50, Proposition 50 that was on the California ballot. You know how we had 17 propositions? Well, Prop 50 for them was to say that we're going to redistrict and gerrymander our state even harder because Texas did. Now, why is this important? Because Jane Fonda is based out of California, and she wanted to do something about it. She's a very politically minded lady. She goes on The View pushing this stuff. It's in all her interviews, whatnot. Jane Fonda surveyed the landscape and decided that Jasmine Crockett would be a good person to do a video with to gain support for Prop 50 with California voters. And I don't think she's wrong. I think it's just an observation of fact. Jasmine Crockett, her profile on the national level is so big, so strong, so well liked, so just pushed, absolutely pushed by the media, that she is influential with California voters. You know what that means? That means the table is set for her to make the promotion to the national stage. There will be the day, and it will probably be very soon, when Jasmine Crockett won't be running for an office that encompasses the district I'm sitting in now. She'll either be running for office for the entire state, maybe to run for a Senate seat from Texas, or, dare I say, something even bigger. But today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time? It's going to be the ad with Jane Fonda.
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea. Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey. Queen of the liberal tears.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and I'm here with Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman from Texas, and she knows what redistricting, what gerrymandering means. She is so powerful in Congress that the GOP want to get rid of her district in Texas. They've redistricted her house out of her district. We have to vote yes on Prop 50, don't we, Jasmine?
Absolutely. So, November 4th, California, we need you to stand up. You just heard it from the queen herself, okay? It is time for us to fight fire with fire. Instead of having one hand behind our backs, I need you to show up. This is about our democracy. This isn't about just me being in Texas. It's about our voices. It's about making sure that there is a check on the power that, well, is out of control in D.C. So make sure you vote yes on Prop 50 on November 4th.
Please do it. Yes on Prop 50.
I know you would never vote for her. I know you're not a big fan. But Jasmine Crockett is not going away. And unless there's some big scandal that we don't know about yet that's going to pop up, she really is the future of the Democrat Party. Her and the other one, AOC. Here she is last night. CNN could ask any one of the 100 senators or 435 people in the House of Representatives to be on stage with them in the post-election coverage. They chose AOC, and here was her reaction.
Well, what I think is so impressive about what Zohran Mamdani accomplished tonight, as well as the entire movement of New Yorkers that came out to vote for him, is that he had to not just defeat a Republican, he had to defeat a Republican and the old guard of the Democratic Party at the same time. He was fighting a war on two fronts and not just one. And he still won resoundingly. And I think the message that that sends is that the Democratic Party cannot last much longer by denying the future, by trying to undercut our young, by trying to undercut a next generation of diverse and upcoming Democrats that have the parties, the actual party, that are actual electorate and voters support.
Yeah. Go ahead and keep going in that direction. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Coming up next on The James Show, there's meetings this week continuing this fantasy that we need to knock down Dallas City Hall and rebuild something in its place, or maybe hand it off to some new developer or whatnot. And it's all very suspicious. And you'll get the skeptic's take on it with Dallas in Fuego, a local watchdog here, coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Who are the fools that want to knock down City Hall? It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. My next guest might have some answers. He's a local political watchdog, Dallas in Fuego. Welcome back to the James Show, Dallas. Where did this whole idea even come from, that all of a sudden, out of the blue this year, we started hearing conversations from multiple people all at the same time who decided that it would be a good idea to knock down City Hall? Well, I'm sorry to cut you off. Why did the Mavericks want a new arena so damn bad? A lot of people are saying that, but why? There's nothing wrong with this one. Okay. Isn't there a whole lot of other properties in the area that could be torn down that aren't as valuable or useful as the City Hall building? No. Yeah, what we need is more hockey games to make people come downtown. Okay, so I also feel like there's a little bit of corruption, or at least the availability of corruption, in the idea that, okay, if we move out of Dallas City Hall and knock it down, what are you going to do? You're going to lease space from some of the, 1/4 of the office space downtown at least is vacant. So who's going to be the big lottery winner who gets that contract? That seems a little suspicious. Well, I kind of like that building anyway. The one that we have, it's the same architect that did the triangle outside the Louvre. It may be the best architectural gem we have in the entire city, and they're talking about knocking it down like it's a single wide trailer. Well, I also feel like I'm going to be seeing a Dallas in Fuego video in the near future about how someone's kid or spouse or brother-in-law got some awesome contract or job with the Mavericks or some real estate developer or construction firm or something. It just, I think we've done this so long and we're so jaded and skeptical, we can just smell the corruption. All right, we're talking with Dallas and Fuego. He's a local DFW watchdog that keeps an eye on City Hall like a hawk, does a bunch of funny videos about it. They're on YouTube and social media elsewhere. The other story that's got me actually kind of excited is just the fact that there's even the discussion. I don't think it's going to happen, but the fact that we're actually having the conversation about cities pulling out a dart, that just has me so happy. It's like Christmas came early for me. I know. So do you think it'll actually happen? Right. It's like, why doesn't anybody want to ride the train? Because we have cars. Because cars are better. We don't have. We don't need trains. It's all right. Where would you recommend the people listening find some of your great work online, Dallas? Thank you very much, Dallas and Fuego, DFW Watchdog on the James Show. Good stuff, sir. Appreciate it. All right, coming up next on the James Show, New York's loss, or actually New York's new mayor, is going to be great for business in Texas. I'll explain next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. New York's loss is Texas's gain. It's the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. I know, good to see you too. But New York electing an avowed socialist mayor, it doesn't scare me. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I'm not crying for our neighbors up in New York City. They'll be fine. They've done this before. New York City! 2 mayors ago, they already had an avowed socialist, Bill de Blasio. And, they want to, even worse than that, he was an evil billionaire. And you know how evil billionaires are. Yeah, they say that, and then they keep electing Richie Rich kids as their mayor. The Bill de Blasio, billionaire. Michael Bloomberg, like the 7th richest person in America. But yeah, tell me more about income inequality while you vote for people with helicopters. But look, the more they squeeze businesses and the air quote, the rich, the more they squeeze these people in New York City, every imposition of a cost becomes an incentive for them to leave for greener pastures. And Texas is one of the main places they're going. Texas, Florida. You hear a lot about Tennessee. They also have the no state income tax, and they're getting a lot of people that are kind of clustering around the Nashville area. But the one thing that New York has going for it is being number one. And if you are the number one, and I'm talking about not just in size, but it's number one in so many other things, because you're the biggest city in America, and because you are the first big giant port on the eastern seaboard closest to our largest trading bloc, that would be Europe, specifically Western Europe. You have all kinds of advantages that a Scranton, Pennsylvania just can't have. Same thing on the other side. The second biggest metropolitan area, Los Angeles. It has the same thing going for it on the other side. It is the furthest inland port facing the Pacific Ocean, with our greatest trade partner over there, China. All the crud that gets made in China, almost all of it comes through the ports either in, Seattle, San Francisco, or Long Beach is the big one from LA, if I understand my logistics correctly. So they have a couple of big advantages just geographically, and the fact that they're on the ocean and they were the first one to get there. But the number one market in any country, in any situation, has the advantage of what they call in economics as agglomeration. Outside of economics, that just means things clustering together. But in economics, it's kind of specific. And to the fact that you would think, if you're a farmer, or if you're a hunter, or if you're in so many of these other sort of competitive businesses, you don't want to be right next to your competition. You don't want to open your McDonald's right next to a Burger King. But something weird happens in economics where they do tend to, at the very tippy top of their structures, want to cluster. The headquarters for McDonald's is probably going to be just fine if it's next to the headquarters of Burger King. In fact, it's probably an advantage because some of the same vendors and services and lawyers and marketing tools and advertising agencies and distribution firms and trucking agencies, they're all going to want to be around wherever the headquarters for their businesses are. And they don't just work for one business, they work for all of them. So you have a tendency for one group in an industry to move their headquarters there for everyone to do it. And that's what New York has benefited from. Have you ever noticed how all of your major networks seem to be based out of New York City? Well, that's no accident. Because once you have, NBC's in Rockefeller Plaza, and across the street from there, you have the building where ESPN and there's some ABC studios there that you can just walk past and see. It's right around the corner from Times Square, where they have their little studios for, whether it's Total Request Live or whatever they're doing the live shots from for the Today Show on at Times Square. This is all in like a little 6-block area of Midtown Manhattan. There's Fox News right there. There's Sirius XM satellite radio there. So once you have a couple of the more headquarters of some business decide that they want to move to Texas, that creates the table for all of them moving here. And what is being built just cat a corner from where I'm sitting right now, over here by the American Airlines Center, there's a building going up They're just building it from scratch. It's 2 towers. One of them's 14 stories. The other one's going to be 8 stories. That's going to be the new headquarters, or the, sorry, not headquarters yet, but the new office complex for Goldman Sachs. And they're down here because they're going to be anchoring Y'all Street. We're opening our own stock exchange right here across the street from where I'm sitting right now. And so what happens when you see Goldman Sachs have more people in their office in Dallas than they do in New York City? Right now, Chase, the bank, Chase Manhattan, has more people in their office here than in New York City. Now, their headquarters isn't still in New York City, but the second that changes, then you're going to see a whole bunch of other dominoes just sort of follow. And Texas is a giant magnet. And it's not that we're awesome. I mean, we are awesome just being Texans. But our policies, our governance, and a lot of the propositions that we just passed last night and put into our Constitution against taxing securities, against taxing capital gains, against all these other things that look like they're aimed directly at Y'all Street being successful, being stable, and being attractive. New York could fall off from being the number one city in America. And if it does, it will fall off fast and hard. You saw the collapse of Detroit in your lifetime. In 1970, it was like the second or third biggest city, and it had like the highest median income. And now where is it? It is a textbook example of an economic implosion, just a self-induced economic implosion. So in some ways, I don't think we should cheer for the demise of New York City, but those businesses have to go somewhere. And we just need to make sure we have our ducks in a row and our statecraft aligned to be the loving arms that they run into for an embrace. And it's happening. And I don't know if it's all going to move to Dallas. I suspect some of it's already going to move to Houston. If you're an energy firm or if you're in shipping, they have the port that's open to the rest of the world. It'll probably be down there. We have all the financial stuff up here. It looks like Austin is turning into the San Francisco, San Jose, the Silicon Valley of Texas, because you got all the Tesla stuff going on down there. You got the big new Apple campus down there, and you've got Dell, and you've got all these other tech people going on. New York's terrible decisions, ultimately speaking, will be good for Texas. So in that aspect, enjoy the ride. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, Dr. Beau Kabbalah. He is in political science at Tarleton State University, and we'll get his take on the Election Day results coming up on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're continuing the autopsy of election 2025 on the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. My next guest, Dr. Bo Cavallo from Tarleton State University, does political science over there, and I bet you got some pretty strong opinions on the big elections last night. First, let's start off in Texas. We had 17 propositions on the ballot. All 17 passed. Is that normal? That seems not something that happens every time around. Well, which state has a longer constitution than us? All right, so I was trying to make the case that Mamdani's win in New York could ultimately be good for Texas if, he implements all the policies he wants. That'll be a lot of incentive for them to come somewhere in Texas, Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, something to that effect. So I want to get your reaction to Donald Trump. He was asked about the election, and he said a big factor on why it didn't go his way was the shutdown.
Last night, I think if you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans.
Do you generally agree with that? The shutdown was a negative for the Republicans in the election last night? Interesting stuff. All right, we're talking with Dr. Bo Cavallo from Tarleton State University about the election results last night. Generally speaking, when you have these off-year elections, and this is like an off-year election, we don't expect a whole lot for turnout. But I did see a lot of print about how the turnout in New York City was so high. What's your take on that? All right. How do you think this will affect the trends for the bigger elections that are happening next year? Do you see the momentum swinging toward Team Blue after last night? Well, you had AOC saying yesterday, Ocasio-Cortez saying yesterday that the Mamdani win shows that her brand, her wing of the Democrat Party is the future, as opposed to sort of the Chuck Schumer wing of the party. And I think she's actually right on that. I think the more extreme socialist wing of the Democrat Party is the more popular strain they've got going. All right, Dr. Bo from Tarleton State University. I appreciate your time on the James Show. So now, as of today, we are in the longest partial government shutdown in history. How's it going? We'll check in with the president's statements this morning. You'll hear them next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, congratulations. You have somehow managed to survive the longest shutdown in history. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. It feels real silly saying that, too. The longest shutdown in history. Like, this is the longest we've had without a fully functioning federal government. BS! It's not the long... For one thing, it's not a shutdown. When more than 80% of the employees are still going to work, getting their checks. I don't know. I checked my pay stub at the last payday. They were still withholding taxes. So it seems like things aren't even really shut down. And, I also remember, like, in the War of 1812 when the White House got burned to the ground by the British. I think that was probably a bigger disruption, a bigger, air quote, shutdown, an interruption of government services than having 18% of our staff temporarily furloughed for 4 weeks. But hyperbole aside, if you want to use their description, this is the longest shutdown in history. Donald Trump this morning.
So as you know, we are in the midst of a disastrous Democrat-created government shutdown, and it is Democrat-created, but I don't think they're getting really the blame that they should. That's now officially the longest shutdown in American history. The Democrat radicals in the Senate have shown zero interest in reopening the government, and I don't think they'll act so soon. A lot of people disagree. I've been saying for the last 30 days, we've had 4 or 5 different points. Yes, sir, they're going to get it right now. We should have it done in a day. I've heard that about 4 times. I heard it after Kings. They said I was a king. And I heard it after Kings. I heard it after a couple of other moments in time. And I said, no, I don't believe so. And now I heard it's after the election. I don't believe so.
So he thinks this is going to be done soon, like within a day or so. Now, the big question is he talking about ending the filibuster? Because later in those same statements, there was no gray area here. He is all for ending the filibuster today.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be in bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so it's a long time.
All right. Now, I'm interested in this timetable because Donald Trump predicted over the weekend, or it was played on Sunday in the 60 Minutes interview that aired, that he thinks this will be over. The Democrats will totally capitulate and it'll probably be done in a week, which means, this week. And then there was another soundbite I've been playing for you this week from Ted Cruz, who was on with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend on Fox News Sunday, or what's it called? Something Morning Futures. Sunday Morning Futures, that's what it's called. And he predicted kind of the same thing, which now the clock is ticking on these two predictions. This was Ted Cruz over the weekend.
Will the government open this upcoming week? This is getting seriously impacting the U.S. economy. What's your take?
I think it's likely to open Wednesday or Thursday of this week. The Democrats will wait until after Election Day because they think a shutdown is good for energizing the crazies in their party. But I think it'll be either late this week or early next week.
Are you going to have to give on the Obamacare subsidies?
No, the Democrats will collapse entirely.
Okay.
All right. So are the Democrats going to collapse entirely? Are they going to end the filibuster? These are two different forks in the road that actually have the same destination. The government gets reopened, the budget gets passed. But that's going to be sort of the defining characteristic. Do they get this bill passed because 7 Democrats capitulated? Or do they get this bill passed because they ended the filibuster? That's going to be a huge difference. But Donald Trump said we should have a result this afternoon, which means, the James Show is almost over. I haven't heard anything. I'm keeping an eye on it for you. But if they're going to do the filibuster thing, it's probably going to be sooner than later.
I think it's very important. We have to get the country open, and the way we're going to do it this afternoon is to terminate the filibuster. And it's possible you're not going to do that. And I'm going to go by your wishes. You're very smart people. We're good friends. But I think it's a tremendous mistake, really. It would be a tragic mistake, actually. It's time.
So he is full-throated in support of removing the filibuster. The Democrats already have their electoral results in. There's no reason, politically speaking, to keep the pain going other than if they think it's good PR, or I should say bad PR, for Donald Trump. So I'm interested in keeping an eye on this because I don't want him to get rid of the filibuster. I don't think the Democrats want him to get rid of the filibuster either. And so now I don't think anybody on either side of the aisle will admit this to your face. But I think the Democrats are likely to capitulate tomorrow or Friday in order to save themselves from getting rid of the filibuster. They don't control whether or not we get rid of the filibuster. But if they go into capitulate, then they can stop everything else because the Republicans will need 60 votes to get it out of the Senate. If they don't capitulate, they're still going to end up having the same budget passed with the filibuster gone, and then they'll be exposed on so many of these other fronts. That's my prediction, and I'm only about 60% sure on that. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next on The James Show, a huge bust of illegals in Oklahoma. 73 illegals taken into custody. Guess how many were commercial truck drivers? Find out next on The James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Check out this big bust of illegal truckers in Oklahoma. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and our neighbors to the north, our little brother Oklahoma up there, had a big bust. I'm surprised this isn't bigger news. It should be bigger news, just it doesn't fit the narrative. This report comes from KFOR.
Another 73 illegal immigrants arrested in a targeted Operation Guardian sting.
Hang on a second. 73? That's a hell of a sting. Like that. Do you run out of handcuffs and zip ties at some point? Anyway.
Another 73 illegal immigrants arrested in a targeted Operation Guardian sting. This effort over in eastern Oklahoma with troopers primarily stopping commercial vehicles. You may remember in September, the Department of Public Safety arrested 120 illegal immigrants in western Oklahoma in a sting there.
The results are almost staggering when you think of how many illegal drivers and non-English speaking drivers we run across that are operating these massive semis on our interstate system.
During the most recent sting, Department of Public Safety Commissioner Tim Tipton says posts on social media from the East Coast were warning commercial truck drivers of the operation, telling them to find an alternate route and avoid Oklahoma altogether. But even with the posts, OHP troopers and ICE agents arrested 73 people. 34 of those were driving commercial vehicles.
In this case with commercial motor vehicles, the proof is easy to see. It is dangerous to our citizens when we have people who are here illegally, untrained, operating these types of vehicles. And so it is a true public safety issue that we will aggressively enforce.
Tipton says all highway patrol troopers are credentialed under ICE. When asked about probable cause to make an arrest during an operation like this, Tipton says,
if they're an illegal alien, they're here illegally.
In the most recent sting, Tipton says they stopped over 500 cars and after searching the ICE database, learned several foreign drivers were in the country legally.
They have a current visa, they have a current right to be in the country, and they're released back to their truck and going down the road.
In Oklahoma City, Hunter Elise, Oklahoma's News 4.
Tipton says several of those arrested had a lengthy criminal history and were from several countries like India, Pakistan, China, Ukraine, Russia, and Honduras, to name a few. They have plans to continue these crackdowns.
Wow. All right. So good job, law enforcement in Oklahoma, ICE agents, whoever was involved in that. And, trucking is something that, it's no one sees it on like the higher upper echelon of society. But trucking is something that men, for my entire life, especially when I was a kid, I remember this happening over and over. Some guy's working at a factory, he gets laid off, he can immediately turn to trucking and have a job. I've had guys, because I've worked in radio for a couple decades, and radio's gotten smaller since I've been in it. There's fewer radio stations, there's fewer live shifts, there's fewer DJs, and I've seen DJs who worked in radio their entire adult life. A good friend of mine at a previous station finally got laid off, and he turned to trucking immediately. Made more money than he did in radio. And so it's not a job that's difficult because it's hard to drive a truck and it's hard to go from point A to point B in this machine. Trucking is hard because the lifestyle it demands from you. Most of these guys aren't making internecine municipal deliveries, which means they're just staying within the city. Most of these, especially the over-the-road truckers is what they call themselves, the long-haul drivers. You understand what it's like being away from your family 5 to 6 days a week? You understand what it's like to be in this little box all by yourself? That's what they call it, being in a box. I know a lot of truckers. You know what that life's like? You know what it's like to not have human interaction? You're just sitting there by yourself. You know what it's like to have your heel hurt? You ever seen the inside of a truck? You ever have a trucker friend? Go look in there and you'll see on the floor of almost every trucker friend that I've ever had or met, they have like a little pillow or like a little piece of styrofoam or a folded up towel or washcloth or something where their right heel sits. Because you may think, well, how hard could that be on your heel? You're not putting a whole lot of pressure on it. No, but go ahead and do that for 12 hours a day for the next 12 years. Tell me how your heel feels. It's a terrible job in the fact that it's a sacrifice and takes so much of your time. It's a terrible job because it's tedious. But it's been a job that has been a lifesaver for many an American man who was left behind by their previous career choice. And the ugly part of this bust that you just heard is all these illegals that are coming in. They'll do the job for cheaper. And that's why the big companies want to bring them in. We're told to be concerned about corporations and they're concerned for profit. And, they're more concerned about profit than the average American. And, they'll grind poor people underfoot if it makes them a dollar. Well, that's what this is. This is millionaires and billionaires exploiting the suffering of the poorest among us by bringing in labor to undercut them. And the last president was the SOB that gave everyone an asylum claim. So you're wondering, how do we have the Ethiopian trucker that killed 5 people in Austin earlier this year because he fell asleep at the wheel and he was all messed up on pills or something? What about the guy that killed 5 people outside of Terrell, just a few miles east of where I'm broadcasting right now? What about the other crashes? What about the guy who did the U-turn in Florida and killed a family of 3? What about all these crashes? Every single one of these isn't just a safety concern. Every single one of these is a family that's destroyed because some grown man who could previously rely on the trucking industry as a fallback now has to go home and look at his kids in the face and say, I don't know how I'm going to feed you. And I've seen the crash out videos of truckers retiring or being forced out of the business because they just can't afford it anymore. All the foreign truckers have driven the price of these runs down so much that they can't make ends meet on such a little salary. And so the foreign influx has crushed so many of the common men in America. And it's not just trucking, it's these other jobs, whether it's at a meat packing plant or a mattress factory, or even the back of the house of your local restaurant. That is the real insidious, painful way unfettered illegal immigration and these immigration loopholes has absolutely crushed the least among us. And it's got no play from the people who claim that they're all for the little guy, has it? Good job, Oklahoma. 34 illegal immigrant truck drivers got taken off the road. That's just a small part of it. If we get all of them taken off, yeah, the price of your bananas might go up 4 cents a pound. Oh, no, now it's 68 cents a pound. Whoop-de-doo. But what you're going to have is you're going to have thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of men who are going to be able to provide for their family. Seems like a pretty good trade-off, doesn't it? All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin, the great one, is coming up next. And if you're a Sting fan, did you know he is coming to town? He's going to be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on May 10th for the Sting 3.0 tour. Get information at livenation.com. Listen to the WBAP morning show this week to find out how you can win tickets. And also come out and see us live as we broadcast the entire day for WBAP from the National Medal of Honor Museum in Arlington on Veterans Day, November 11th. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.